Jaewon Choi was 3 steps from the coffee shop door when Kwame Boateng appeared beside him out of nowhere, matching his stride like he'd been walking there the whole block. Jay stopped. Kwame didn't. "Where are you headed?" Kwame asked, already pulling the door open like he owned the place. "Coffee," Jay said slowly. "Perfect. I'll have coffee too." Jay stared at him. "You hate coffee. You said it makes your hands shake." "I'm expanding my palate." Kwame walked in like the conversation was over. Jay stood on the sidewalk for a second, looked down the alley toward Itaewon's main strip, looked back at the door, looked up like the sky might explain what was happening. Then he followed his best friend inside. Amara Boateng was already at the counter, laughing at something the barista said, head thrown back, completely unguarded the way she laughed at everything. Yellow linen shirt, braids twisted up off her neck, an iced Americano sweating in her hand. She had no idea what she was doing to the room. She turned at the sound of the door, eyes landing on Jay, first, warm, a little amused, then sliding to her brother, and the amusement doubled. "Kwame," she said, "what are you doing here?" "Supporting local business," Kwame said, squinting at the menu board like he'd never seen Korean script before in his life. He ordered green tea, dragged a chair to the table closest to the counter, sat down, and looked at the two of them like everything was going exactly to plan. It was the 3rd time in 6 days. Jay had known Kwame for 7 years. They met during Kwame's first disastrous month in Seoul, when he showed up to teach English with 0 Korean and a suitcase that didn't survive customs. Jay, a junior designer 2 cubicles down at a shared co-working space, had spent an entire Saturday helping him find an apartment, set up a bank account, and figure out the subway. By the time Kwame's mother had a health scare back in Accra, and he flew home in a panic, it was Jay who sat with him in the airport for 6 hours afterward, saying almost nothing, just being there until the gate opened. That was the kind of friendship it was. Quiet, load-bearing, the kind you stopped noticing because it simply held everything up. So when Kwame's sister Amara flew in from London 4 weeks ago to spend the summer working remotely from a spare room, she was a UX designer, fully remote, restless, and craving somewhere new. Jay had met her the way he met everyone in Kwame's orbit. Politely, easily, expecting nothing. Then she'd walked into their usual Friday hangout mid-conversation and made a joke about the parking situation outside, so sharp that 3 strangers laughed before she'd even sat down. Jay had turned to look. He kept looking a beat too long. Kwame noticed. Kwame always noticed. The second time they were all together, Jay arrived early to Kwame's apartment and found Amara in the kitchen, stirring something that smelled like it had ambitions. She'd handed him a spoon without asking. "Be honest," she said. He'd been so disarmed by how easily she said it that he gave her completely real feedback, and they spent 20 minutes adjusting the seasoning while Kwame watched from the doorway with the face of a man witnessing a car crash in slow motion and choosing not to look away. By week 3, Kwame pulled Jay onto the balcony, handed him a drink, didn't make eye contact. "I need you to be straight with me," Kwame said. "Okay, Amara." Jay said nothing. "That's what I thought." Kwame finally looked at him, and his face wasn't angry. It was something heavier than that. Protective in a way that went all the way down. "Jay, you're my brother in everything but blood. I love you. You know that." "I know, which is why I'm saying this to your face and not behind your back. You don't stay. I've watched it 3 times. You get close to someone and then you're just gone. And every time you had a reason that made sense, and I never said anything because that was your business." He paused. "But this is my sister." Jay was quiet for a long moment. The city hummed below the balcony. "Nothing's happened," he finally said. "That's exactly the problem," Kwame said, and pointed at him like that settled it. Amara, for her part, knew exactly what her brother was doing. She'd known him 26 years. She knew his fine voice from his actually fine voice, and she'd clocked within 4 days that he was performing a level of casual that took real effort. She wasn't offended. She understood the instinct. But she was also a grown woman who'd built a life across 2 continents without supervision, and she found the whole operation far too entertaining to shut down early. What she hadn't expected was Jay himself. Kwame had talked about him for years the way people talk about furniture that's always been there. Jay said this. Jay did that. Jay showed up until he became less a person and more a fact of the apartment. In real life, he was quieter than she'd pictured. He didn't perform. He listened like he meant it, asked questions that proved he'd actually been listening, and was funny in a dry, late-arriving way that you had to be paying attention to catch. She hadn't planned on noticing any of that. It was deeply inconvenient. Their friend group made it worse. Yuna, who worked in marketing and had the instincts of a documentary producer, announced within the first week that this was the content I live for, and had been gleefully unhelpful ever since. Femi pulled Amara aside at dinner to tell her that her feelings were radiating off you like a space heater, and she needed to deal with it before she combusted. Femi also approached Kwame, unprompted, with what he called a peace proposal on Jay's behalf. Kwame declined with a look so flat that Femi backed out of the room and pretended the conversation never happened. Kwame even tried recruiting Amara's friend Dura, who flew in from London for a long weekend specifically to act as a buffer. Dura lasted about 3 hours before she texted Amara privately. Your brother needs therapy, but also the Korean guy is clearly obsessed with you and has genuinely good energy. I don't know what to tell you. Amara laughed so hard at her phone that Kwame walked in to ask what was funny. Nothing, she said, still laughing. Life. The grocery store had been the first ambush. Kwame, who supposedly worked across the city and never had time, appeared in the noodle aisle on a Tuesday with a basket and zero explanation. 30 seconds after Jay texted Amara to ask if she wanted anything from the store. The second was the outdoor courts near Hongdae on a Thursday. Kwame walked up mid-game, sat on the low wall, and watched Jay shoot with the focused stillness of a man being paid to do exactly that. Now this. A green tea in a coffee shop he claimed to like. The silence at the table lasted about 45 seconds. So, Kwame said pleasantly, "How's life?" "Fine," Jay said. Good. You've been busy." "Reasonably." "With what?" Jay looked at his best friend of 7 years. The man who'd driven across the country to help him move, who'd sat with him through 6 hours in an airport without one complaint, who was now conducting an unofficial interrogation over green tea he didn't even like. "Work," Jay said. "Right," Kwame said. "Work." Amara picked up her cup. "This is not weird at all," she said into it, and took a sip. When the gathering finally broke up, Kwame walked them both to the curb and waited until Amara's taxi pulled away. Then it was just the two of them on the sidewalk. "You don't have to do this," Jay said. "I know exactly what I'm doing. You're following me around, Seoul, with green tea. I like green tea now." "Kwame." "Jay." Kwame turned to face him properly. "Tell me something real." "Not nothing's happening. Not it's fine. Something real." Jay was quiet for a long moment. A delivery scooter buzzed past. Someone's music drifted out of a passing car and faded again. "I don't know yet what it is," he said carefully. "I just know I want to find out." Kwame looked at him for a long time. "That's the part that worries me," he said quietly. "Because what happens when you find out, and then you leave anyway?" He didn't wait for an answer. He put his hands in his pockets and walked back toward the coffee shop, probably to claim his abandoned tea. And Jay stood on the sidewalk feeling the particular weight of being known so well that someone could name your patterns faster than you could explain them. The following Saturday, Yuna hosted a rooftop gathering at her building in Yeonnam-dong. String lights, good food, the kind of easy summer night that made the whole city feel worth what it cost to live in it. Jay arrived to find Amara already deep in conversation with Yuna, gesturing with a plastic cup, making a point Yuna was enthusiastically agreeing with. Kwame was also there, positioned with architectural precision between the food table and the seating area, which covered roughly 70% of the rooftop's usable geography. Jay grabbed a drink, leaned against the wall next to Femi, and said quietly, "Where can I stand where he's not in my direct line of sight?" Femi scanned the rooftop slowly. "Nowhere. Honestly, he's got full coverage tonight. I think he planned this." Jay watched Kwame laughing at something with a neighbor, looking completely relaxed, not at all like a man running an interception operation. "He absolutely planned this," Jay said. Later, Amara found him in the corner by the railing, where he'd retreated with his second drink. She leaned beside him, shoulder almost touching his, looking out at the skyline. "He's getting more sophisticated," she said. "I noticed. The coverage tonight is genuinely impressive." He triangulated. 3 positions, Jay said, rotating every 20 minutes. Her expression was open, amused, with something more serious sitting underneath it. "How long are you planning to just let him intercept you?" As long as it takes. She looked at him. As long as it takes to what? To show him he's wrong about me. She didn't look away. And if it takes a long time, then it takes a long time. No drama in it. Just the plain truth. Something shifted, small but real, across her face. Kwame appeared at Jay's other side with a plate of food and zero awareness of his timing. Try the Jaewon, he said, holding it out. Yuna made it from scratch. He stood between them, eating, surveying the rooftop like a general reviewing the field. Across her brother's shoulder, Amara caught Jay's eye. He pressed his lips together to keep from smiling. She looked away first for the same reason. Kwame saw none of it. 2 weeks into August, something happened that Kwame hadn't planned for. Amara called him. Not a text, a call, at 10:40 at night. Her voice was steady, careful, but Kwame had known his sister long enough to hear what was sitting underneath steady. What happened? He said immediately. She was quiet for a second. A project I spent 4 months on just got pulled. The client walked. No warning, no conversation, just gone. Kwame sat up. Amara. I'm fine, she said. I needed to hear a familiar voice. I'm coming over. You don't have to. I'm coming over. He was already standing, grabbing his keys, checking his phone for a ride. That's when he saw it. Jay's name was already on his screen. Jay had texted 30 seconds after Amara's call ended. Asterisk, is Amara okay? She posted something and deleted it fast. Just want to know she's alright. Asterisk. Kwame read it 3 times. He thought about the fact that Jay had noticed something Kwame's own sister hadn't even told him yet. Something small enough that Kwame himself had nearly missed it. And instead of using that as a reason to reach out to her directly, Jay had come to Kwame first. He sat on the edge of his bed. Didn't reply right away. Called his sister back. I'm on my way, he told her. You want anything? Black sesame ice cream, she said. Disgusting choice, I know. But yes. He hung up, looked at Jay's message again, and typed back. Asterisk, she's okay. Bad work day. I've got her. Asterisk. Jay replied immediately. Asterisk good. Tell her the client clearly didn't deserve the work anyway. Kwame read that twice and shook his head slowly, not sure what to do with it. He thought about it for 3 days. He went back through the last month in his head the way you reread a document looking for what you missed. Every time Jay had shown up to something without being asked. The way he listened when Amara talked, actually listened, not waiting for his turn. The way he never pushed. The way he'd stood on a sidewalk outside a coffee shop and said, I want to find out instead of I want her. Like she was a person worth understanding instead of an outcome to chase. The text at 10:40 at night, going to Kwame first instead of around him. He thought about what Yuna had said to him quietly 2 weeks earlier while they cleaned up after the rooftop gathering. I love you, Kwame, but you need to consider that you might be protecting Amara from something that isn't actually a threat. He'd waved it off at the time. He was considering it now. He found Jay at the outdoor courts on a Wednesday morning, shooting free throws alone, the thing Jay did when he was working something out of his head. Kwame had known that for years. He pulled a folding chair up to the edge of the court and sat down and watched until Jay noticed and stopped, holding the ball, looking at him. You're not intercepting anything today, Kwame said. I just want to talk. He looked out at the empty court. Tell me what's different. Jay didn't pretend not to understand the question. I'm not trying to impress her, he said. I don't feel like I have to perform anything around her. He paused, choosing the words carefully. She sees everything. Nothing slides past her. And instead of that making me want to back away, it makes me want to stay in the room. Kwame said nothing. The other times, Jay continued. When I left, it wasn't careless. I got to a point where I realized what I felt wasn't deep enough to build something real on, and I thought leaving early was the honest thing to do, before it became something that actually hurt someone. He looked down at his hands. But I understand that from outside. It just looked like I don't stay. It did, Kwame said. I watched you do that to 3 people. I know that. I know you do. So what makes this different? What do you actually know right now that you didn't know those other times? Jay was quiet long enough that a sparrow landed near the foul line, pecked at something, and flew off before he spoke again. I know I texted you the night she was upset instead of going straight to her, because I didn't think it was my place yet. I know I've spent a month finding reasons to be near her, without once pushing her for anything she wasn't ready to give. He paused. I know I think about her when nothing reminds me of her. That's never happened to me before. The court went quiet. Kwame looked away, rubbed his face with one hand. I hate that makes sense, he said. Jae said nothing. She's not someone you get to practice on, Kwame said, low and direct, not angry, serious in a way that meant every word was chosen. She's not a phase, not a summer thing, not something you're curious about. She is my sister, and she is the realest person I know, and she deserves someone who actually knows what they're walking into. I know, Jae said. I'm not walking in blind. I'm walking in carefully. Kwame looked at him for a long time. Then he picked up the ball that had rolled near his feet, stood, walked to the foul line, and shot. Clean. He retrieved it, turned, and threw it back to Jae. If you hurt her, Kwame said, I will make your life extremely difficult. I know. I mean it. I know, Kwame. I'm still watching. I assume, Jae said. Good. Kwame turned and walked toward the exit. Halfway there, without turning around, he said, she likes the Sunday market in Mangwon. She's usually there by 9. Then he kept walking. Jae stood at the foul line holding the ball, looking at the empty court, smiling slow and full. The way people smile when something they weren't sure they deserved finally arrives anyway. Sunday morning, Mangwon Market, 8:54 a.m. Jae stood near a honey vendor pretending to be deeply interested in honey when Amara arrived. Braids down, sunglasses on, canvas tote over her shoulder, iced coffee already in hand. She spotted him in about 4 seconds. Stopped walking. Looked at him, then at the honey, then back at him. Are you a honey person? She asked. I could be. She walked over and looked at the jars. The vendor, sensing nothing unusual about the moment, launched into an enthusiastic explanation of the different varieties. They stood there 11 minutes learning about acacia and chestnut honey. When they finally walked off, Jae carrying a jar he hadn't needed but bought anyway, Amara looked at him sideways. Did Kwame tell you I'd be here? Yes. No hosetashin. She nodded slowly. How did that happen? We talked. On Wednesday. About me. About you. He wanted to know what was different. I told him. She was quiet a moment, walking slowly beside him past a produce stall. What did you tell him? The truth, Jae said. That I think about you when nothing reminds me of you. That I'm not here because it's convenient or because it's summer. That I'd like the chance to actually figure out what this is, with you knowing that's exactly what I'm doing. Amara stopped walking. He stopped too, turned to face her. Her sunglasses hit her eyes, but her face had gone still the way faces go still when something real lands. Jae. Yes. Kwame has been following you around the entire city. I know. Green tea. I know. And you just kept showing up. Yes. She looked at him a long moment, then reached up and pushed her sunglasses onto her head. Her eyes were exactly as direct as always, maybe more so. I don't do casual, she said. Just so we're clear, I'm not interested in figuring this out halfway and watching it become nothing. If you're in, be in. If you're not sure, say that now. I'm in, Jae said. Simple. No performance. She studied him a moment longer. Then she held out her hand, not dramatically, just held it out, matter of fact, like a decision already made. He took it. They walked through the rest of the market on a Sunday morning in August, her iced coffee in one hand, his unnecessary jar of honey in the other, their fingers laced between them like something that had finally found where it belonged. 3 weeks later, the whole group was back at Jae's apartment for the usual Friday gathering. Yuna, Femi, Amara, everyone. At some point, Kwame ended up in the kitchen getting a drink, and Amara came in to refill her glass. He looked at her. She looked at him. You good? He asked. Better than good. He nodded, studied his cup. He texted me that night, before I even called you back. I know. He told me. Kwame looked at the wall for a second. He came to me first. Didn't go around me. I know. He nodded once more, like something finally settling into place. I still think he's annoying, he said. Amara laughed, loud and full. And from the living room, they heard Jae call out, I can hear you. Good, Kwame called back. Yuna's voice drifted in. This is everything I've been waiting all summer for. Femi, write this down. Already on it, Femi said. Kwame and Amara stood in the kitchen, Kwame fighting a smile that broke through anyway. He makes you happy, he said, quieter now, just for her. He does. He picked his drink back up, started toward the door, stopped. Fine. But I'm still watching. Kwame. What? Thank you, she said. for caring enough to be annoying. He was quiet a second. That's literally just called being your brother, he said gruffly, and walked back into the living room. Amara leaned against the counter, smiling at the empty kitchen, then went back to her people. Weeks passed. Summer folded into a Seoul September. The air still warm, but carrying something cooler underneath it, the first hint of fall coming off the mountains. Amara didn't go back to London on schedule. She'd extended her remote arrangement, found a sublet 2 neighborhoods over from Kwame. Kwame pretended to be neutral about it. Yuna screamed. Jae just said good, plain and direct, the way he said most things that actually mattered to him. She'd learned by then that the bigger something was to him, the quieter he got about it. One evening in mid-September, they were at his apartment. She was working at the kitchen table. He was at the stove, something simmering that smelled like it knew exactly what it was doing. She looked up from her laptop. He was relaxed, unbothered, fully at home in his own kitchen, and somehow also just present in the way she'd come to understand was simply how he was. Not performing, not trying, just there. Jae, she said. Yes. I'm glad you didn't stop showing up. He turned, looked at her across the kitchen. I told you. I'm in. She looked back down at her laptop, smiling the way she'd been doing more often lately. The kind of smile that arrived without permission and stayed longer than expected. Outside, Seoul kept moving, kept breathing. Inside, something quiet and solid had planted itself in the space between 2 people who'd found each other at exactly the right level of complicated. Kwame had been right to ask hard questions of someone whose past gave him reason to worry. But protection and control were never the same thing. And he was wise enough, once he saw the truth for himself, to step back and trust it. Jae's old patterns didn't have to be his permanent story, but he'd had to prove it with consistency, not words, by walking through the front door instead of finding a way around it. And Amara, who never once needed rescuing, who'd seen the whole thing clearly from the start, let Jae in because he earned it, and let her brother be exactly who he'd always been, because that too was love. If this story made you feel something, hit like and share with someone who needs to see it. If you're new here, subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from. And drop a comment. Were you Team Kwame or Team Jae from the start? Did Kwame come around too easily, or did Jae actually earn it? I read every single comment, so let me know below.